Well, this is Australian Fires number 6 at Nana Glen in November 2019, and it was a due attack. These pictures are from a property near Nana Glen in New South Wales, Australia. Remember, a so-called bushfire is an open flame, not a furnace. Therefore, if aluminium melts at 1183 degrees Celsius in a furnace, the temperature here must have been much hotter in open air for the aluminium to melt. And this is unless black military projects have the technology that you were never taught, probably deliberately never taught. This technology uses the Earth's energy, and they use it against us. The weapon is called directed energy weapons. There has been much research on the effects. Two of these researchers are Dr Judy Wood, who has risked everything economically and perhaps her health. But without these researchers, and the other chap is John Hutchinson, and his research is known as the Hutchinson effect. There is much information on the internet, and by doing a simple search, you will find it. Aluminium rivers. If it wasn't heat, then what could turn aluminium into a river? Padre Reverend Dr Graham Whelan OAM is holding a river of aluminium. The aluminium composition has changed. It is now very brittle, suggesting that this could have been the Hutchinson effect. Something electrically has changed within the composition of the aluminium.
The type of resonance which causes the Hutchinson effect and related effects can be explained by looking at how the frequencies compare to the molecular and atomic structure of the material itself. This phenomenon is only observed while using ultra-high frequency and incredibly high frequency Tesla waves. Why? Because they correspond to the frequency of the distance in the atoms in the structure. The distance between the atoms in a structure is equal to the wavelength, which will resonate that structure. Once you find the resonant frequency with the Tesla waves, you have effectively trapped and aligned the atoms. You can now tune the frequency a tiny bit higher, causing diamagnetism by squeezing the atoms together, restricting the electron orbits, which causes a north pole and a south pole, artificially induced diamagnetism, which causes levitation. If you lower the frequency, it pulls the atoms apart a tiny bit, which causes a phase change of matter, where a solid starts behaving like a liquid due to these strong electromagnetic forces resonating within it. This is the force that pulls aluminum bars apart and turns them into rubber spaghetti. This is the force that levitates 70-pound cannonballs. It's electromagnetic force, not a new force, nothing.
There is John's boat experiment. Well, what it shows is when he turns off his gizmo, then the boat lights up with weird fires. And the cars lit up right after the tower's demise, not during, right after, as though it was right after something got turned off. This is another interesting, at the WTC, how this beam curled up. Actually, that was right across the street. That was in Baker's Trust. These are John Hutchinson samples. Notice there's no creases in the corners. I should have found the picture of him holding this one like this. Yeah. Vitamins? But it curls up like that, like at room temperature. And this is a video that hopefully will run. There we go. It wiggles back and forth. Now watch this thing. It's going to come apart in here. It's starting to come apart. Weird things happen. And began rising up like it kept breaking down. Toasted cars. We got to get to the toasted cars. I say they're toast. They're history. I can't say they're burnt because I don't know that. But they're toast. I just decided to use that word to say something happened, messed them up. You can't fix it. You got to get a new one. It's history. This is a police car found on FDR Drive. I don't know how it got to, I don't know where it was toasted. There were some that were witnessed as being toasted on FDR Drive. But this one is quite interesting in that it has an abrupt, toasted, not toasted. Like it's like it's on the showroom floor. It just had a new wax job back there.
Take note of the abrupt boundary. We will show this later on the Nana Glen property.
What abruptly stops a real fire, a regular fire, doesn't do that. It would be lapping around the corner. Also, why aren't the lights melted? And you have the circular spot on the other side. Gas tank is still, fine. This is where all the toasted cars we're seeing that I'm aware of.
Some people report tremendous heat in the bushfires. But why? Why did these ambulance drivers perceive heat when they were at least 3/4 of a mile from the buildings?
As well as the toasted car lot. And the ones we were looking at were down here. And an emergency medical person said you could tell it was hot at the Trade Center because you could feel the heat from the bridge. But paper wasn't burning down here. How could somebody over here, 3/4 miles away, feel heat? Something that they perceived as heat.
Accelerated rusting. What caused rusting and for it to appear in minutes? Accelerated rusting on the spare wheel in the boot. Why did this happen? Inside the engine bay. But the bonnet could not be opened.
Remember, the evidence is the truth that a theory must mimic if a theory is correct. Starting out with a theory, if you haven't figured out what happened first, you're just solving an imagined problem, not a real problem. So it's so important to look at the evidence. As we've seen, the evidence is showing us a different story than what we were led to believe. Now this toasted bus, notice there's no big flame marks running up the side of the bus. No scorch marks. Is that going? Oh. And then we have also this vehicle that's already rusted. You can see building 7 is still standing. Every car up this road was toasted in some way. Every vehicle. I call this the swamp. I think you can see why. Is it the sound? Oh, yeah. No door handles. Yeah. Not a trace of window glass. Just gone.
Go, go, go. 3, 2. Oh, man. More debris falling from a nearby building of the World Trade Center. We're at West Broadway and Barclay. Very difficult to breathe here, but look around. This must have been ground zero where this thing blew up. Car after car after car. Buses completely obliterated and burned straight down to the steel. Behind me.
He was describing it the best he could. Here's more of that street. And notice no door handles. Now that in itself isn't surprising, but we're just noticing the patterns. It seems that door latches, trunk lid latch, this door, door latches and door handles were completely gone.
One door handle that was found is in the same condition as the aluminium composition. Here we have copper wiring. Wiring already oxidized and the plastic insulation destroyed. Next we have glass. Glass melts at around 2,500 degrees Celsius and bushfires don't get so hot. Why is glass appearing to melt? Here we have a drinking glass and it's only bent out of shape, not completely melted. Twisted metal, the Hutchinson effect. Metal that looks like it's been through a steelworks rolling mill, all at the same time. This is the picture of a car. You'll notice the batteries. Is this why battery power is promoted so much these days? Unlike the 1983 Ash Wednesday dew attack, gas bottles no longer explode. Could it be that the frequency was removed from the attack? Here is a trampoline, but notice the abrupt transition on the tree in front. It goes from burnt to unburnt. Strange ash.
Guys, you know, a lot of strange things. We've all surfing the internet and seeing all these really strange things happening all over the world, right? And it's not letting us down today, because video is coming out of in Australia that the ground is boiling. Literally, the ground is boiling. And so this is one of the videos of the ground boiling. I guess it has to be volcanic, right? I mean, coming up out of nowhere, they've got what appears, because that don't mean it is, but appears to be volcanic activity. Check this out, and we'll go from there. See, it's coming up in spots, even. It's not lava. It didn't pour across the ground. It's venting up. Yeah. If I was there, I'd get a shovel and start digging at the edge of one and see what I could see. But I ain't there, obviously. Tell that youngin' to be quiet. Hang on just a second. So here's audio of a gentleman talking about this and some measurements that they took of the temperature of the ground. Now realize when he's talking in Celsius. So you'd have to convert that to Fahrenheit. But take a listen.
Like candy thermometer in, because we could only dig down about 2 inches because the ground was too hard, and put it in. That read up to...
He's talking about he stuck the thermometer in the ground, and it read up to
200 degrees Celsius, but it peaked at that within 30 seconds and then just melted the glass.
It melted the thermometer.
Glass. So have you used another thermometer or not?
We did try with a laser thermometer. I'm not sure what the accuracy on those are, but that was reading over 350 degrees.
And this
Celsius.
is close to the surface, like 2 inches down or something.
Just under the topsoil.
What do you reckon's going on? What do you think's happening?
Well, I'm not sure, because it seems weird that it's happened on a cooler day, when there's been a cool change. I thought if anything like this would happen, it would have been after our consecutive weeks of over 45 degrees. Not sure, it could be maybe movement in the ground that sort of created a crack, and maybe there's a bit of gas coming up, even though there's no gas smells or anything, but yeah.
Who have you asked about this to give their advice?
So we asked a geologist, and we rang the Bushfires NT just to see if anyone's heard of it or seen anything like this before, but yeah, everyone's unsure about it.
What's your next strategy then? What will you do now?
Hopefully someone might be able to get back to us with a bit of information if they know anything, or I suppose maybe just let it burn out and see how it goes. Pouring water on it doesn't seem to do anything, so I'm not sure.
Let it burn out. And here's a couple of other related stories going on in Australia. Spontaneous combusting hay bales on the rise. Now, hay, when it's green, if it hasn't been cured good, they will burn, but that's one of the stories. The other one, even more interesting, is spontaneous combustion in coal pile at Boggabree Mine under control. So the coal pile, big pile of coal, caught fire.
And now let's look at these child seats. One is damaged and the other is not. Why is that? Did you see the difference? Both seats are under the same tree. Look again. What is the difference? The difference is one has metal and the other does not. Here we have a swing seat with metal clamps. And the other, a swing seat with very little or no metal. Well, here's a question. Have bushfires become so intelligent that they know to attack swing seats with metal and not to attack the ones without metal? Why is the dust so fine?
Oh, look at that. Not only that, the dust has turned to super soft. That's like dust down at the blast furnace, and the dust created at the oxygen plant. Whoa, did my foot sink there? That's like pug dust.
Look into that one. So what is pug dust? Pug dust is dust that comes from processing of iron ore. It is so soft that 1.5 feet of it compresses down to about 1 to 2 inches when walked on. It is toxic. That's why they used it in the cosmetic industry, because it is so soft. The cosmetic industry didn't care if it made you sick. That dust, pug dust, basically is iron oxide, or any dust from a foundry. Still not right. In a foundry like the one pictured, by mixing minerals and electrically charging them, it turns them into pig iron. Then moving that iron to a BOS, a basic oxygen system, and adding other additives and oxygen, steel is made and a dust is given off called foundry dust or pug dust. This dust is extremely fine. This is what Dr. Judy Wood had to say about the dust. You are watching 500 tonnes of steel and other materials being electrically turned into dust and falling faster than gravity. Electromagnetic energy.
Now we're going to look at dust rollout and fuzzballs. This wall of dust is pouring down the street. It was chasing people, and it overtook them. Didn't cook them. Just left them covered with dust. You know, I like these abrupt lines. Like you can see where this other fellow's tie was tucked in there. He was just covered. He didn't get cooked. The dust went a certain distance and then went up. Another bizarre thing. Again, it's important just to take in all of the data, and it starts telling you the story of what happened. Let the evidence tell you the story instead of forcing it to go a particular direction. And I wouldn't have seen this before, that just all particular distance then goes up. There's a video filmed by Bob and Bree, who had an apartment up here. Bless them for saving this video and then sharing it with the world. This is an image from there, and the dust doesn't quite touch their window and then goes up.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! I told you! Oh my God! All these people! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh, it's awful.
Oh baby, hold Lily. Oh my God!
Come on, let's go to the other room. God.
Let's see how it's starting to.
Is this dangerous?
I think it's just smoke.
There's no danger of other buildings. Is the air conditioner turned off in the room?
Good thinking.
And the windows closed in the
People
bedroom?
near the area are in an absolute crazy situation. The entire top of the building just collapsed.
The entire building is collapsed.
The building just collapsed.
We're going to leave because...
See how it just starts shooting up? It doesn't touch the window.
This is a devastating development.
It doesn't go past here.
Is no more. We do not know at this point the extent of injuries or casualties, how many people were in these buildings trying to get out. We've seen some gut wrenching.
Oh, people are running away. They're running away.
Hanging out of windows.
What are they going do.
Green
You guys
grass.
gotta run away.
See the obvious.
That grass stayed green the whole time.
All right, let's go to NBC News right now.
I think it's going to be blown away from us.
Something like coming through the window.
No, it's the wind is being blown away.
Horrific, incredible, not to be believed.
It just came that particular distance, but it went up.
Trade Center where just a few minutes ago, within the last minute actually, the second twin tower collapsed. Just to recap, if you're just joining us, around 8:42 Eastern Time this morning here in New York City, a plane crashed into the right twin tower of the World Trade Center.
Isn't it amazing? It goes up. Now, controlled demolition, the dust doesn't really go above the highest point of the building, the original building. But this went up and blocked out all the sunlight for a few minutes. And it went up and continued going up. And continued going up for months and years. Wet tire tracks, they wet it down, they're misting it from up here. But what's this? Wet dirt? All right, fuzzballs. Notice how clear the air is from here on up. But down at the bottom is a thick haze. And you'll notice from the time on the clock that it's only 15 minutes after the South Tower went away. And this is 15 minutes before the North Tower went away. How could that fine of dust have landed in that short of time? It's fallen out of the air because it's clear. And there's several other pictures that indicate this, that it was coarse dust that landed and then became fine dust and began rising up like it kept breaking down.
This is why the dust, which is so fine after the dew attacks, has been electrocuted, electronically shocked. Electromagnetic direct energy weapons is described, and the BOS, the BOS, the basic oxygen system to make steel, also requires the BOS, basic oxygen system to make steel, also explains why high wind is needed with these DEW or dew direct energy weapon fires. It helps to turn the material back to dust. Burning the trees in the process
the dust was turned to super soft.
is a good cover story, especially for news reports.
That's like dust down at the blast furnace, and the dust created at the oxygen plant. Whoa, did my foot sink there? That's like pug dust.
The WTC towers mostly turn to dust. Not just any kind of dust, it was ultra fine dust. See the diagram for the comparison with typical rock dust. Now we know dirt and materials that have been electrically shocked turn to the soft waste dust found at foundries. Therefore, we now know that the dust and dirt will keep refining itself for years and years to come. And once you breathe it in by a smoke or letting your children play in it, this dust will enter your lungs. and it will keep refining itself because it has been changed electrically until it enters your blood. Then it will gradually make you sick. This dust is toxic. It will need a lot of rain and maybe some years before it becomes safe again. It is suggested you do not let your children play on it for a long time, indeed years. Here we have solar panels and wiring. Solar panels unaffected, while the wiring is toast. There's an important question. In which direction did the electrical heat damage? Which way did the electrical heat come? Was it from the ground or was it from above? If from the ground, then where from the ground? A Hadron Collider possibly? If from above, was it the TR3Bs or the RXTC? The Armageddon machine. Here it is in California. Here it is in North Sydney on the 6th of December 2019. These machines move exceptionally quickly. In battle mode, they can cover 1 kilometre in less than 1/10 of a second. "400% zoom. Smoke cannot form in a shape and dissipate from a geometrical shape so quickly. What was noticed on the property was that a circle was formed, and within that circle, like the eye of a storm, a lot of things were not or only partly damaged.
We look at it burn. We look at this part and it's nice and green. And then it's burnt. Yeah.
A long time ago, buzzing a house was made illegal, but not for black project military vehicles, such as these TR-3Bs, buzzing and destroying a farm in Lake Mary, Queensland in November 2019.
But slowly the scientists disappeared. They've realised they had made a terrible mistake. You see, they said that the structure is a split beam system and it's too weak for the job we want to do. They were wrong. And by the time the craft was built, there wasn't another scientist present, and they never said anything to me about what can't be done, can be done. All round, it's the generator section.
Now we know that fire tornadoes, microgusts, are probably caused by TR-3Bs buzzing in an area to destroy it. Could this be the reason for the Nana Glen property, that it had been damaged like in the eye of a storm? In the picture here, trees and tree roots were burnt from the inside out and from below the ground.
Massive hole. Trees burnt. Roots burnt. Roots burnt way underground.
I want to point to this one. Let me put, I'll get in there and you can do the, just come back here, will you? I want to do the big Hollywood one on this now. Just a photo. That's the root.
Last but not least, sudden transitions. Why are there a lot of trees burnt below the ground and above the ground, and to say around 12 to 15 feet? Let's turn this tree back to a standing up position. What is happening electrically? Only one side of this tree was burnt.